Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to day 3 at SOTB. Is everyone here? Yes. So today we are starting a roundtable about a very, very interesting subject. Artist unique selling proposal in the Metaverse. And for that we have Markus Wiesenhofer, CMO at Belvedere Museum. We have also Stephan Breuer, artist co-founder at armomundio.io, and you can enjoy his art, in the hall. Then we'll have a break, of course, and you can enjoy more art. And then we have Richard Zalan, CEO and co-founder at Vernissage, and Jürgen Poelzl, manager at Arteq. So have a good day, everyone, and enjoy.
Hello everyone, welcome to day 3. So first of all, before doing the introductions, I hope everybody noticed outside we have some very interesting pieces of digital art by this very talented young man that we have over here. So feel free to go over there and experience them. Second of all, unlike what we had on Monday and Tuesday, master classes today are something quite different because all of our panelists have prepared some presentations for us, so I urge you to stay and enjoy them. So we have they have actually prepared some surprises for us for the afternoon master classes, so that's also very interesting for all of you to enjoy, so keep that in mind. And now, having said that, I'm gonna ask our panelists, first of all, to give a small introduction of who they are, what exactly are they working on, and then I'm going to start moving on to what our lady in the audience said yesterday, the hot potatoes. Stephan, if you wish.
Hello. Yes. So my name is Stephan Breuer. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Stephan Breuer. I'm an artist. I'm multimedia. I work with digital and physical. Actually, I like to explore the very fine line that exists between the physical and the virtual. So this is where I navigate. As you mentioned, there are artworks outside. You said there are artworks of digital art, but there are actually physical works. But the idea was to replicate a digital image in the physical world. So I tried to create a physical work that would be as light and as immaterial and as an image when it appears on your phone or on your computer screen. So it's funny that you said they are digital because actually they are physical.
So, working on my mistake,
No, it's not a mistake.
can you give us your definition of what digital art actually is?
For me, digital art is about making everything possible. For me, digital art is about creating something within the digital world that will impact the physical world. So it starts by something immaterial that then becomes material and that then becomes again immaterial. So what I mean by that is that if you have to materialize dreams, you will make it in the digital world. Then you will confront this dream to the physical possibilities, and then you will work towards making this digital dream a physical reality that will then becomes again a dream.
It's an amazing.
First and foremost, I really like what you're wearing.
So this is crazy because they lost my luggage. Okay.
Okay.
So I don't have a shaver. I don't have socks. I don't have I'm like. And I went yesterday to Dubai Mall, and it's Prada, Bottega, Chanel. I was like, what am I? My God, the car, people on the car. I felt like I was in the Wally. The Wally Disney thing. And then I found this by chance, and I was like, you know what? And it was my dream to wear a combinaison, a spacesuit forever. And my color is white because I had a very big accident, like in early January, motorcycle accident, a Range Rover who hit me anyway. And since I get out of the hospital, I only wear white. So and I found the white spacesuit, so it's perfect. I think it's this is my look for Dubai now. Every time I come,
You'll wear this forever.
And I must tell you, it suits you very well.
thank you.
Dreams, again, your another dream came true. So
Yeah, exactly. I still, by the way, they still haven't called me for this for my suit.
I told you
For
yesterday,
my,
it's 3 days. It's gonna take 3 days.
They say, yeah. So actually, I don't ask me why, but I flew with Royal Air Maroc from Paris to Casablanca to Dubai, and tonight France is having
Playing
a
Morocco,
party
yeah.
against Maroc. I hope they kill them.
Well, let me make a short note on that.
Yes.
Coming from Argentina, I hope Morocco wins so they make our job easier in the finals.
we have friction right here already.
Not friction, not friction. So, Markus, can you please give us an introduction
Yes.
on you and your work?
Yes.
And your definition of digital art also.
Yes. Thank you for having me. First of all, let me thank you, the organizers, Kase and Dalila, and you for this wonderful, really boutique event that exactly does what we are looking for as a museum, engaging with Web3, with the community, with the movers and shakers of this whole new world that we are engaging with. I'm co-heading the marketing and communication department at the Belvedere Museum in Vienna, Austria, which is next year turning 300 years old. So we have a big anniversary next year. We are one of the oldest museums in the world. 1777 actually was open to the public, showing the treasures of the Habsburg Empire, the art collection, for free to the public for the very first time. And reflecting on the history, we see ourselves as one of the thought leaders in the future as a museum, because we see the need as an institution, not only preserving art, but also engaging with today's art and today's audiences, and certainly prepared for the future and staying relevant. So this is why digital art, digital technologies, and new forms of interaction with audiences are so important. And exchanges of ideas, of concepts, and that's why I'm really honored to be on this panel to discuss that, because it's for us a great opportunity to stay abreast with all those developments. And actually our NFT project that we will go more into detail in the afternoon in the workshop is just one of many examples where we are trying to experiment with new formats, new technologies. You know, we all went through really hard times in the last 2.5 years. Remember in Europe, in Austria, we had 6 lockdowns, row after row. So there was, for a large part, it was impossible to go to the museum and see the art. And so for us, it was a great hope with digital means to even interact with our global audiences, because we have more than 80% international visitors coming from all around the world, interested to see Gustav Klimt and all the other masterpieces of our collection. And so the digital means were a necessity for us to stay in touch with our audience and you know, dig deeper into new forms of interaction. And coming to your question, what is really digital art? For us as a museum, it certainly is a new format, a new way of expression, just as photography or painting or sculpture or other things. But much more than that, as an organization or an institution, it's also a new way of communication, of interaction, of discussion, and a whole new way of interpreting social issues and other issues in life in new forms. So for us, it's really interesting to see what artists like you are presenting, and the way we as an institution are able to interact with them and define our role somewhat new towards the metaverse, which is really a really difficult question for a 300-year-old institution again, you know. Yeah, so we are on the way, on the path. We took our first steps, but by no means, you know, we are finished, or, you know, we know everything, because we are open for the future, and we are happy to engage and exchange ideas. And this trip alone to Dubai is extremely inspiring again, and I'm willing to bring that back to Vienna, Austria again, this spirit that you can really sense in Dubai, that you know, what is out there in the future. There's not only negative things, there is a lot of problems and crises around the world, but there is hope, because there is a lot of innovation, a lot of possibilities ahead. So,
and do you consider yourself perhaps like a leader in the, let's call it, museum business, in terms of adopting these new technologies and following your example, get other museums to do the same?
Certainly I can tell that as we are one of the prime institutions in Europe regarding to fine art, so it's the National Gallery of Austria, practically. We have in our collections artworks from the medieval times, so 700 years ago, to contemporary art, and we are collecting contemporary art still, and presenting and preserving that. And in the approach that we have taken in the recent years is really with those digital means to actively also push others, or together with them, working on cooperations inside the museums world and outside. And I see that we get quite a recognition all around the world now. So a lot of international museums are coming also to us. Specifically in the NFT project, they're asking us, how did you do that? I mean, we are really looking into experimenting with blockchain, and you are a fine example how a museum could do that. And it's actually, so far, the KISS project is the most successful project of any museum worldwide. Also thanks to a great collaboration with Arteq, our partner from Vienna, who is also here and talking on the next panel, and other partners we are working with globally to reach out to art enthusiasts and onboard them to a totally new technology. I mean, a technology that we weren't familiar 1.5 years ago, but through the trust of the institution and our long-term scope, we are also helping, I believe so, the blockchain scene to get a trust and onboard a lot of new people and engage them with new possibilities to appreciate art.
First and foremost, I'm highly inspired and impressed by that mindset and what you exactly said. I was in Vienna roughly 8 months ago, and I could tell you that the blockchain adoption was far behind. So I'm curious to know, from your perspective, what drove this initiative from your end? So,
yeah, I mean, I totally confirm your impression or observation that we are far away from mass adoption. In Austria, for example, we had one big example of the postal office. They had crypto stamps introduced as one of the first, I believe maybe the first ones all around the world, to have crypto stamps, NFTs, very successfully as collectibles. But there's only a few examples, and so every media report basically that is reflecting on crypto, blockchain, or NFTs is always taking our example in the German-speaking world. But we were interested in the possibilities of blockchain when we thought, okay, there is a new form to building up a community. I mentioned that we had a lot of closure, we have a lot of international travelers that couldn't come to Vienna. So blockchain and NFTs enables us to build up an international community, engage with them, and all our digital means are basically also appetizers to bring them in the end to Vienna, like you experienced for yourself the original, but maybe before engage with the collectible first. So I think blockchain has many applications that we don't even see at the moment, or we can only think about, but we don't have it, we can grasp it at the moment, but I see it on various levels in social life, and some examples are leading. So NFTs is one first step for us. It would certainly be not the last. But we are learning on the go also with that project a lot. So we thought, okay, we need to engage now and start working with a first project and learning from that. And yeah, I think for the future, there's many possibilities that blockchain can really contribute and help for a lot of solutions also in the museum field.
So Stephan, when you hear this, right, from a museum perspective, and there's mass resistance, or I would say lack of education globally. When you hear this coming from a prestigious museum, how does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel extremely happy because most of my work is to work with very ancient either architectures, national museums, or with ancient art that I love to, first of all, observe. I love to project myself in very ancient architectures. I'm interested in things that, let's say, provide both a very strong aesthetical experience and also, as well, a very strong experience about knowledge. And both things makes me, wander very far away. So when you say artworks that are 700, from the 700s, the medieval times, it's, first of all, one thing is just sublime that these works have reached us, that they have traveled, we are going to
survive.
We are going to live 70, 80 years old, they are the survivors, A lot of people in contemporary art, they say, museums is for the dead people. No one is dead over there. Everyone is very alive, They're still there, and the museum is like a spaceship that is able to transfer those works in the future, even though the spaceship doesn't move, it's immobile, it's, it's there, it doesn't move, but it moves toward space and time, though. I mean, the planet is flying, you know, around the universe. So I think it's really so important for institutions to catch up on this train immediately. First of all, because it offers so many possibilities, democratization, but real one. It offers the ability to structure a very strong community around the works. Also, one thing that is very important about Web3, etc., it's the gamification of the experience. So this can be made in a very smart way. Right now with Amor Mundi, we have created some enigmas. So we have a big community on Discord and everything. We're trying to solve problems, you know. So that's great. Yes, I mean, I will speak about it a little bit later, but like, well, I go on a regular basis to the Louvre Museum, for example, and every time I have a very specific program and I go there. Actually, I wanted to work in the same way as an artificial intelligence or as an algorithm. So that was one of my first ideas when I started making these works that you saw outside, was to say, okay, if I was an artificial intelligence, if I was an AI, what would I do? I would, if I was that, I would be so intelligent, you know, that where else would I want to live? In the Louvre or in the Belvedere Museum, you know? Because this is what I want to feed on. I want to feed on the masterpiece of humanity. I want to feed on the beauty, on, you know, every time there is a catastrophe, a war, or a bad event in France, or an explosion, people die, I go to the Louvre and I found, again, hope in humanity, because these were made by humans, you know, even though they are almost inhuman, because it's, you cannot believe, you know, the works.
And for those of us that aren't really familiar with the digital art world,
yeah.
How do you make digital art? Because, I mean, for, let's call it traditional art, if you're telling me you need to make a painting, okay, you need a brush, you need paints. If you want to make a sculpture, you need either a piece of wood or a rigged stone.
And what do you think you need for a computer?
I know, that's the question. Is it you on a computer in programming?
No,
How do you do it?
Yeah. You need, I mean, everyone uses, you know, it's a wide game, but it starts, of course, with a computer. When I started, like 10 years ago, when I started, I said I want to work only with one computer and one phone, no studio, and nothing. And I worked on only one single software, which is a very low-key software, which is Keynote. You know, it's like the Apple PowerPoint. And all of my works, everything you see here outside, everything you will see later, I conceived on Keynote. So it's very low-tech. And then I work with engineers, I work with, you know, whoever I need to regarding the projects. But my process is extremely light, highly conceptual, and very low-key in terms of technology.
Tell me about Louvre. Like, it's a prestige and honor to have your artwork displayed in such a museum. Tell me about what you're doing there, let the audience come to know, and also I want to know about the user experience and the user journey as well. So if you can just enlighten us about what you're doing at the Louvre. So
the Louvre actually, when I told you that I wanted to be this artificial intelligence that would be alone in the Louvre and that would recompose the museum, actually during the second pandemic in France in March 2021, I was working on a series about angels. And there I discovered, I was also making a lot of research, so like most of my work is research, you know, research. And I found an amazing angel in a painting from Rembrandt. And the painting is in the Louvre. And so all the museums in France were closed, pandemic. And I called the Louvre. And I told them, listen, I have this project. I work around the idea of icons, you know, religious icons and digital icons. I'm making I explained the project. I knew some people, of course, you know, but I mean, not
You
I
pulled
didn't know
some
the
strings.
president or whatever, you know, and I asked them, listen, it's the pandemic, I need to work, I need to go and see this painting by Rembrandt and, you know, and make a special photo about it, etc. And they said, okay. So I went, and just like I envisioned to be an artificial intelligence alone in the Louvre, I entered the museum, closed. I went already before to the Louvre when it was like the Tuesday when it's closed to the public, but there is some activity, you know, but during the pandemic when all the museums in France are closed, there was nothing. It was like entering Star Trek Enterprise, you know, the spaceship, but empty. And so I walked.
Was it a good or a bad experience that it was
Amazing.
Amazing.
The best in the world. This is the real artwork, actually. So, yeah, no, really.
That's a good business
No.
idea for both of you guys, like selling a one-day ticket to the museum just for yourself.
No, not even selling. It's impossible. There's not money. Forget. It's not about the money. So yeah, that's the beauty. And also the beauty is that the Louvre, you know, is about helping museum. It was made also to inspire artists, you know, and so they have this very strong policy to supporting artists. But like, so I entered the museum alone. Someone guided me. And I just arrived in front of this beautiful painting by Rembrandt, took the photo with my iPhone, very low key, and then I rework the painting, and then they asked me for a special edition. They archived the piece, and when I gave them the piece, there was an NFC chip, so the piece was stored on the blockchain, secured, and everything. But they are not as advanced as the Belvedere Museum, so they didn't really realize what it meant, you know, the whole thing. But I mean, it was important, you know, to project also them in the future, and then a lot of people talked about this thing. You know, I was very surprised actually because, but yes, so it's the relationship with the Louvre for me is I mean, it's. For my mental health,
More sentiment.
the fact that the Louvre is here is very important for me.
And let me ask you, this question is for both of you, and perhaps, Markus, you can give us like the point of view from the firm, from the company, and Stephan, you can give us the point of view from the entrepreneur side. How has the business of art changed with the introduction of Metaverse, digital art, NFT? How has that changed your business model for both of you?
Well, I think we are right in the middle of a disruption happening. From my point of view, which is a museum, I mean, we are not making money with the art. That's not our role. Our role is to preserve art, to present art, well, yes, in the case of NFT, with the KISS project, we have raised 4.4 million euros in total so far, which is a great contribution to our budget. We are a non-profit organization, partly funded by the Republic of Austria, and yes, it was tremendously important in times of crisis, with the closure and everything. We lost a lot of our revenue due COVID, and it helped us enormously to raise funds, which then goes into the core work of the museum. So it's really beneficial for us in the case of this project, but not every blockchain project will be a business model. There is different applications with blockchain and NFTs. We have both roles, and it's sometimes, you know, not easy to find a good balance. For a non-profit organization, we have an obligation for public value. So our interest is we have a very outspoken open content policy, which means you can actually go to our online collection. I mean, we have digitized the large part of our collection of thousands of images that you can download and play with it, print it, use it as a further reference for future art. And we encourage that. So we have a very outspoken open content policy, and on the other hand, we are trying to commercialize some parts of our assets in order, again, to support the duties of the museum in a condition where, you know, a lot of the arts institutions worldwide are under heavy pressure. Don't forget that due to COVID, a lot of the museum had to shut down. Even some of them couldn't reopen because of budget reasons. So, I mean, we are not there that, you know, all museums can make money with NFTs. You know, we are far away from that. And in our case, we were lucky to have this successful project as a first step, supporting us. But what I can observe as a museum from the art world is really impacting, because artists, and you will probably confirm that, have a whole new way to engage with their audience and don't need the galleries to do that. Can set up new structures, build new communities around their work, which, you know, is extremely helpful and interesting to see. And galleries, on the other hand, also try to experiment with it. And there's new NFT galleries starting up and things like that. So we can't really grasp at the moment. It's really interesting to see, because there's also, you know, platforms coming from the industry, you know, and using art as a content and things like that. So there's a lot of experimenting going on at the moment.
Yeah, Markus is absolutely right, and this is exactly what I think as well, is that it's not just about the NFT or the digital art. Right now, what is offered to us as artists is to reinvent the system, totally. So you're right, galleries, you know, big, you know, whoever, you know, I mean, the art world is a very small world in a way, very closed, very, yeah. And right now, with the technological possibilities, it enables you to create works, of course, digital works. It enables you to create new systems, a new way to just make, you know, make things possible, makes things made visible to people, engage with the community, but also, you know, it's a whole new world with a whole new economy, currencies, way to, you know, I mean, it's extraordinary, and we are at the forefront here now, it's I think until now we have looked at, you know, what we call the corpus of artworks as an artist. You know, you look at and we analyze the works, you know, as individual works and as a group of works. But I think in the future, artists will be look at what system did they create. Because now we can trace everything, you know, with the blockchain and everything. So who do you connect with? How do you connect with? What do you do? What do you receive? What do you give back? You know, everything can be seen and understood and stored forever. So this is amazing.
As artists, as creators, do you ever come across, I mean, this is a subject that's been going around, the protection of IP rights of artists, right? It's very easy to somehow duplicate these, you would say, pieces of digital art in some cases, NFTs. And this is a question that has been posed by a lot of, you know, artists. How do you protect our IP? Does that come, or does that worry you? Does that come to your mind? What is your suggestion? What are your thoughts on that?
Listen, I think, you know, just do the works. If someone steals from you, you know, it's, I mean, I don't really care. You know, I think if you create, you know, well, the thing now, you know, with blockchain, NFTs, and VR, and, you know, all of the possibilities that are offered, is that you are not having an external experience to the artwork like you are in a traditional museum, where you are, the artwork is in front of you, and you are in front, yeah, and you are, you know, looking at it. Now you are in it, you know. So, and this is very hard to copy, actually. You can copy even a painting. I was the other day in the Louvre. I wanted to make some photos because in my program, I was looking at only just frames, so I needed to just look at frames. Sometimes I go to see just the hands, sometimes I go to see just the eyes, sometimes it depends, you know, the program. This was the frame. And I arrive, and there is one of the most genius copists was copying a painting from Poussin. Unbelievable, unbelievable, how beautiful. unbelievable. And I mean, you can copy everything. You know, but now with VR, you enter in the world of the artist. It's not just about copying one work. You enter in the, so artists in the future, they will not create just an artwork, they will create a world. Even though intellectually, artists have always created worlds, you know, it's not new. And this is why it seems very esoteric, you know, the metaverse, but it's just, there is no other way to enter the mind of the artist, you know, it's the next step, it's normal, you know, it's natural, because an artist's mind is a metaverse.
You mentioned the metaverse.
No?
Yeah, it is actually, yeah. Tell me about the integration of your artwork into the metaverse, number one. Number two, now there are different metaverses all around the world.
Yeah.
Right? And does that mean that you will take your digital art and approach all these metaverses, or you know, you have a vision to be exclusive to a single metaverse? What are your thoughts on that? Because another challenges that the industry is facing is integration of metaverses.
Oh, sure. No, actually, the project I'm working on right now is creating my own metaverse. So it's I have an exhibition that in a room. In the National Museum in Rome, in a place called Palais Altemps, and the director of the museum, Stephan Verger, actually, when I went with my wife in September last September 2021, I don't know, I don't have the sense of time actually. I visited the museum, and he opened a room that he had never opened before, that no one knows in Rome. No, it's not even in the you know, the museum thing, but it's absolutely incredible. And my work is always a very strong connection to architecture and like a really coup de foudre. I don't know how you say in English. It's you know, when you
the wow factor. The wow factor.
Yeah. And so I started working on this project, and so this was September 2021. Started working on the project. So I drew the whole project on Keynote and everything, and when I finished, Mark Zuckerberg said, "Metaverse." I was like, "Metaverse?" Bow! Another bound.
Limitless opportunities.
Yeah, no, because for me it was so natural, you know. And then, because when the NFT, trend started, I was not very interested, you know. It felt very opportunistic, you know, lots of people going in this thing. And even though all of my work was digital, everything in my computer, I mean, I had no physical work. This is like 2-3 years old, this new technique that I developed. But before, it was only projects or lights or just conceptual works, but nothing material at all. And then I heard metaverse, and I was like, like paradise. No, really. And so I said, okay, this exhibition in Rome will be the start of a new metaverse. But I knew nothing about it. And as usual, you know, I love to learn. You know, we're in the knowledge center here. And in the crypto space, you know, we speak a lot about FOMO, you know, fear of missing out. But I have fear of learning out. So I want to learn all the time. And this is why I go to, and I work with, the aesthetic and the knowledge always together. And so I knew nothing. And I as usual, also synchronicity, life, how it works. You send an intent to life, and it gives you back something. And I met the right people, I found the right people, and right now we have a team. I partner with a genius blockchain developer specialized in DeFi and everything. So we're working day and night. I mean, when I sleep, he is awake. We are on. So we're 24 hours. We're really digital. We never sleep, and so.
Let me move you out of this conversation back into the business of art.
Yes.
Markus, you work for a non-profit organization, but you told us that you work on the tokenization or the NFT of the KISS, and you sell a bunch of them, right? So, question for you is, tell us about the experience of selling digital art. And before we start, for you, Stephan, digital art opens a lot of doors for artists, right? I mean, sure. The question perhaps is it easier to make a living as an artist now that digital art is an option? And let me give you an example. As you may know, I mean, I work with crypto projects. I'm a token economist. And I was pretty surprised that one of the latest projects I was working on was a play-to-earn game, and the project was hiring artists to develop the images or the figures or the characters within the game, that they were sold as NFTs, and part of that revenue was going not to the company but to the artist. So that's a whole new avenue of work, of possibilities for artists that in the traditional art, I mean, if you're making a painting, you could never work, or I think you could never work with a gaming company. So in my opinion, it opens a lot of opportunities. So it might seem that it's easier to make a living for digital artists now than it was before. So question for the both of you.
Yeah, if I may start to give some insights in how we approached it. I mean, when we first discussed this possibility of NFTs internally, we very quickly said, okay, we have this one masterpiece in our collection, The Kiss by Gustav Klimt, which is, you know, the Mona Lisa in the Louvre is Gustav Klimt, The Kiss for the Belvedere. Everybody comes for it. A large part of our visitors just come for the selfie in front of the Kiss. We have Valentine's Day ahead of us. This will be the best drop date, and so we went into this adventure and said, okay, we don't want to do editions of our artworks, but instead, you know, build up a community with individual NFT tiles. I think I lost sound. Oh, okay, it's better. We very quickly decided to do a fractionalizing of the 10,000 pieces because seeing the high resolution image of the Kiss, we've seen the individual close-up tiles, which are pieces of art in itself, which is really intriguing, and an invitation to all of you. You might have seen there is a VR. I hope you can hear me steadily. Yeah, a VR glass, courtesy to Jürgen, to show you the Kiss up close and personal through virtual reality. So anybody in the break, please have a look at that. It's really impressive. And you were asking about the marketing. So we decided on this masterpiece because we thought, okay, this is why we are known all around the world. Gustav Klimt is a big name, this masterpiece. And the romantic idea, because if you would, there's also postcards out there just with a QR code. If you get a chance, just log on to the page and see the kiss.art, where you can see that you can also add a dedication. So a lot of the NFT buyers added a love declaration to their tile, and it's now shown in the museum. So again, you have this reference and an interaction that we built into that, and it's a playful assignment of the individual pieces. And we had both target groups in our mind. One, the art enthusiast who loves Gustav Klimt, the works, and particularly this painting, and doesn't know anything about NFT, needs to set up a wallet first and, you know, understand what an NFT is and the true value of this project. And on the other hand, NFT collectors. So the two basic audiences we had in mind, but we really didn't know to what extent we could reach out to the two groups. And so far, we've seen that the majority of the people were really people that we as an institution with our marketing could reach out to, so art enthusiasts that we onboarded to this technology. So we had more, for example, our project is offered in fiat, in 1,850 euro is one NFT. and 0.65 Ethereum, so you can pay in both ways. And we've seen that a majority bought via PayPal, credit card, traditional means. So this, for us, was a symbol. Okay, we're seeing, okay, there's a lot of art enthusiasts that we've managed to onboard somewhat to this new technology, but we also lost a lot, unfortunately, because they couldn't figure out to set up a wallet. And also we had companies, think about all the companies that have art collections, how they are going to onboard and handle a wallet, with the compliance regulations and everything in place. So it's also for them, it's still not easy or partly impossible to handle an art collection in their assets. So there's a lot more that we all as a Web3 or anybody in the system need to work on to onboard more people. And on the other hand, the NFT collectors, that's part of why we are here. We need to make that connection that we don't have as a museum naturally, because it's a whole different community of art collectors, new, younger audiences. And this is exactly why we did this project, to put ourselves on the map of our NFT collectors around the world, from the US to Asia. And particularly we know that Asia and the US has a great admiration for Vienna 1900, Gustav Klimt, and the masterpieces. But also there is, we just had one collector asking the question, who is this Gustav? And how long does he do NFT arts? So can you imagine as a museum getting this question asked, where you presume that everybody knows Gustav Klimt. But this is an important signal for us to think again as an old institution, to open up to younger audiences and make clear what kind of treasures we have and heritage and the power of that heritage that you so aptly described fantastically of the museums. What we need to stay relevant for younger audiences and international audiences, and NFTs, I think, is just a great means for that. Yeah.
Because we live in a world of micro trends, and this is not micro trends. This is long-term, thinking. These artworks have traveled for so long, and actually, if you know how to convey them properly to a younger audience, they just love it, without being, you ask me what is digital work, it's about being light in all of the sense, light because it is light, it's digital, so it's light, but it's so light because the way you make it, the way you make it accessible, the way you transmit it in a lighter way, not in a heavy way, just like the traditional artwork can be sometimes very heavy, very obnoxious, pretentious, very closed, this is art, you are not art, you don't know, we are better, blah, blah, blah. You know how it is. You know how it is. So anyway, it's about, having more, also humor, and just keeping big eyes like a child, and transmit this love, it's about, you don't do that. This is why we created, this Amor Mundi, it's about love in the end, We speak about technology, but the most important, it's the love, and how do you convey that? So
I think you had a second question for...
Right, about the possibilities for artists, for digital artists, in marketing or
to make
business
money.
opportunities.
So, well, I don't know. When I need money, suddenly it arrives. I have, no, I don't know. I don't know.
Just like that suit.
When it's, no. So I don't know. It's different for everyone, So for most artists, life is not easy. But maybe it's better now with the NFTs, and they are able to create more communities, and to have more work sold and editions and this and that. And be more, on the forefront of, with the collectors and everything. So, and it's faster than, the traditional gallery system where you have to wait, have an exhibition, this, that, So yeah, for sure. But you know, you're not there to become a billionaire. You know, you're there for other matters. You know, so I mean, money comes, money goes. It comes from me when it's I don't know.
So now we spoke about some really great points, some amazing points. I'm just curious to know, in the generations to come, do you ever see the next generation forgetting the traditional medieval art, the actual art pieces, and just focusing on a digital art scene?
Listen, the other day I was on TikTok, you know, and there was a guy in LA who showed people on Hollywood Boulevard 2 photos, one of the Beatles and one of I don't know who, and they didn't even know who were the Beatles. So
you do see that.
Huh?
You do see that coming.
But I mean, we are, yeah, it's, you know.
And from the production of art point of view, do you see people leaving the production of traditional art and moving into fully digitalized art?
And I think painting is so inscribed in the tradition of art since you know, the caves, you know, with the drawings, and I mean it's just it's so deep into how we leave a trace for the future, because it's always leaving a trace about the future. Even the prehistoric people, you know, they left a trace. They didn't know it would you know, it would reach us, you know, but in a way, you make a painting, you make a sculpture, you make a digital work, you know, it's a trace, and the blockchain is a database that is as well about, when we speak about blockchain, it's a technology about the future, but it will become the database of humanity. So it becomes a place when you can retrace, you know, the memory of humanity. And what is a museum? A place of memory. And what do you do when you unite a place of memory with the blockchain? Boom.
Now, Markus, I can understand there are quite a few resources required to maintain the architecture of your museum, right? But when artists go to the metaverse, do you see your museum having a landscape in the metaverse? And if that happens, then would that be an opportunity for you to reduce the resources required?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question that we are currently working on. Or how would the presence in the metaverse look like? I mean, some elements of the metaverse we already apply in and out of the museum, like augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence project with Google Art Institute, for example. I will show that later on in the afternoon, what we are doing there. So some elements are among us, but you know, the metaverse bringing together a lot of those technologies would be something quite different and something that we can't totally grasp at the moment. But yes, as a museum, we need to develop a strategy and maybe try out a presence. I will also bring an example in the afternoon on what another museum in Europe already did in that sense. We will most likely in the future will start with a first project and see how it goes. But I don't see necessarily that it will reduce our offerings in the physical world at the moment, just as, you know, it will be just an additional way to interact and not replacing anything. That's the case with a lot of media. Just because we have, I don't know, a telephone, we don't get rid of, I don't know, email, or just because we have email, we get rid of phone, whatever. Yeah, there's media adding to it. There's an extra value, and what we really see with digital, it helps us to engage internationally, globally, and bring the people to Vienna to see the original. And we are happy that there are so many copies out there, you know, and there is, you know, tons of merchandise with the kids, for example, because then people, at least they get a sense, okay, there is an artist, they have heard the name, and in the end, at least a fraction of it will, you know, breed the desire that they will come to Vienna and see the original one day. And this is good for us, and this will help us. And I think the metaverse is not concurrent, or it's not a competition to the physical. It's much more of an extension and a new dimension of it. So
yeah, it's exactly this. It's a new dimension.
Let me ask you, we are almost out of time, so perhaps one or two more questions. I'm incredibly surprised about the Bored Apes NFTs and how much they sold. So that's one thing. Then we have art pieces or masterpieces like the kids. We got Picasso, we got Rembrandt. So, and that is, of course, considered art. So can we consider this kind of NFTs also art? Is that art or not?
I hope you don't have any bored apes. He's like, oh my God, I've got 3 bored apes in my wallet.
No.
Like, what's the difference between a drawing made into an NFT and a proper work of digital art?
And I'm going to add on that question, actually.
Please.
Does that affect you? Like, does that affect you as an artist? Like, there's somebody sketching. I mean, I've seen eggs selling for, 1, 2 Ethereum. And as an artist who puts so much conceptual, the visualization, the research, your skills in that art piece, does that affect you, or?
Doesn't really affect me. But no, the Bored Apes are funny because, in a way, we are at a sort of a moment of singularity in terms of technology and the new. So, and in a way, when you see the such power of artificial intelligence and that we are almost humans now, back to the ape era, because they are so powerful. So in a way, what it makes me think, these ape works, is that we are confront to this technology, we're like apes again. But technology is never above humanity, actually. And the capacity of the human brain, and the human brain is so powerful, and also we have emotions, which the computer and the artificial intelligence doesn't have, and probably will never have, just like us.
Hopefully.
Well, I mean, what is not human is not human, and so, and our defects, are what makes us human. I mean, there are so many things to say. I mean, this would don't start
Short
me there.
answer. We got.
Don't start me there.
We got 5 to 10 minutes. If you're gonna talk a lot, then just pass the answer to Markus.
No, really. I mean, I see the apes more as collectibles, and yeah.
Hyped up.
I mean, there's some people describe a lot of value to it.
You would compare them to a stamp, for example.
Yeah, it's a collectible, really. And digital art is something else, I would say, where you have an artistic creation of value. But it's a whole market of NFTs, and it depends on how much value people prescribe to a specific item, and it could be anything.
Also, now people tend to differentiate NFTs and crypto art, so they are trying to distance themselves. I mean, it's fine. It's new. It's a new world. We don't need someone to tell us you're good, you're not good.
And
time will tell.
Are you in the crypto art world?
Huh?
Are you in the crypto art world?
No.
Well, yeah, I'm part of a crypto scene right now, because I'm part of in France of something called the New French Touch, and they opened the NFT factory in Paris, and the founder of the Museum of Crypto Art, Benoît Couty, onboarded me on this adventure. So, and it's crypto art. So yeah, I mean, I'm part of that scene as well.
So Stephan, as an artist, as a new art, say for example, somebody wants to get into digital art and he's been into traditional art. What would your suggestion be? How does he enter this amazing, endless possibilities, this world?
As an artist or
as an artist?
As an artist, you need to have the sensitivity to this medium. It's. I mean, I could never, work with a rock. I mean, maybe I could. I don't know, but it's. I mean, if you have the sensitivity to this to working with technology and to being in front of a computer 20 hours a day, if that's your trip, you know. You do it, you know. If you don't like this, you should not do it.
Gentlemen, I'm sitting here inspired, moved by some of the thought process, the mindset, your passion,
Yeah.
that's oozing out, probably in your art as well. And I really appreciate, the things that you have said today. From the blockchain and metaverse perspective, I think this is very inspirational, not only to us, but the audience as well. Having said that, we will take questions, and I'm sure some of the audiences, they have some
We have some
interesting
candidates over there. She's
Yeah.
already laughing, so just give her the mic.
Yeah, would you like to? Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Thank you, and sorry.
Why?
I'm also inspired, and I just realized how much I learned during this talk, so thank you so much for that. I wanted the mic first because I needed to remember. You said, Stephan, sensitivity to this medium. So I am collaborating with the crypto artist Vesa. Downstairs there is a crypto art car parked. I drive with it. It's wrapped with his art, and there is a similar in the metaverse, in the virtual form. So I believe I kind of have understanding everything around this that you have talked, but I still have a problem or trouble. The cave paintings, or I'm a big fan of Monet. I love all these flower painting of his. I saw the first versions in some kind of a digital format, but when I saw the real, actual, original painting, and I could sense and see, the difference and the understanding how the painting is created. It was only then the value of the painting became obvious to me. So now today, what do you think, both of you actually, to me you're kind of sitting on the other side of the same table, what would it require, what do we need when the history is not there, the memories are not there, the emotions are not there when we talk of digital art, and not the collectibles, digital art? What should be done so we could actually understand and realize the value in them? Just like you said, when you are sensitive with the medium you are working with, compared to this that we have so long history, and it's kind of easier also from the art critics telling us why this painting is so special or why it has been so difficult to create. So, how could we bring all this that's been there thousands of years to this digital art, which could be very difficult to understand, that it requires work and understanding and artistic soul, etc. So I have a bit trouble around that. What would you say? How do you see this?
I would say context is important. I mean, you have the big saying, content is king, but I think more and more I find out that context is so important in, making a connection between the art and the values and the know-how and the interests of the audience. So what I mean by that is, you need to find a connection between the standpoint of your collection, of your artwork, and the audience. And new technology can give us the means to create context. So I'm very intrigued by all those immersive art installations at the moment. What do they do? I mean, this is an example for new ways to interact. So you go to Monet, see it in a huge installation placed on walls with even the scent and the sound of southern France, or you dive into the scenery, creating context. And I think that's important also for museums, trying to find to kind of welcome the audience with context that they can relate to. And with any kind of exhibition, we are trying to do that. With that example that I just mentioned, Google Art Institute, we recolorated lost paintings through the means of artificial intelligence and the collaboration with our master chief curator expert on Gustav Klimt. So working together, the expert and machine learning, we could recreate lost paintings, and creating that context to, you know, the Second World War, when those paintings were lost. It creates a whole story, because in the end it's a storytelling process. So you need to tell a compelling story that people will stop. I mean, talking about TikTok, I mean, how much time do you have to make people stop even? You know, stop and look at an image for longer than just a second, which is really become difficult. So you need to create something compelling and meaningful, and create context that just in their life situation makes sense to them. And it's not easy, and you know, you need to try a lot of things. You need to see what the right angle is, and we are actually working that in the museum quite often on trying with our art educators, finding new angles, expressing and relating to their emotions, to the emotions and the topics that society is currently discussing, and, you know, putting that back into the museum and in our artwork that we are having, and retransponding it to the audience in a meaningful way, so that they could see their lives and hopefully, you know, enriching their lives through art again. And this is, I think, the trick, how we can also intrigue new audiences and younger audiences who might be just cluttered with gaming, graphics and other things, you know.
I'm not sure I understood exactly what you meant about the question, so can you say again? So,
well, maybe in brief, how could we engage or bring into the digital art that you are creating the understanding of our audience, how hard work it requires, how much you put time and effort, and that it is actually a creation of your artistic soul with this you know, medium, like you said yourself, when we don't have the history, knowledge or understanding of arts that has been created over years.
I mean, in the history of art, there are some works that can take years, some works that are instant, you know, just a simple scratch, or, you know, it's, I mean, so the question is how to make people understand how the process, you mean the value
of digital art.
The value, but...
In the same way as we already
yes, the value. Yeah, well, the value of work has always been made around the idea of power, you know, what kind of time and power, you know, let's say. Computer is the same, it's time and power. You know, the more powerful the computer you have, the more, you know, more intense the environment you can create. And this requires a lot of computer power, you know, like if you want to create artworks that are, you know, very, I mean, it depends, because me, as I said, my process is very low key, but I also work with very high end, but so I think it's you know, it's about the emotion. Art is about the emotion, you know, so
and
it can be
user
something
experience,
very, even, like for example, in the Louvre or in the Belvedere, I'm sure, you know, in the Louvre there is this little thing in the Islamic part of the museum. There is one little vase that is quasi broken, you know, and it's so fragile, and it's sublime because of its fragility. So it's the same in art. You have artworks that are very, very fragile. Some artworks that are very big and very gives you a lot of, but you know, it alternates, you know, and this is. Art is this beautiful melody, you know, between a very subtle note, a very big bang, a very, you know, there's no one thing, you know, it's, so it's not, so it can be about it can be about using big power, big technology, big, you know, strong and everything, but it can also be about something very simple, very fragile, just a dot, just whatever, you know. It's, I don't know, there is no...
It's how you express yourself. So
yeah, you know,
the
when you
user
listen
experience.
to a music, you don't want the music to be all the time da-da-da, da-da-da. You want sometimes to have a nice piano music, you know.
Hey guys, I also want to add something on this topic. Anita, I totally understand your troubles. I'm in the field since 3 years, also very specialized in digital art.
Introduce yourself, Jürgen. So you're going to be
Yeah, hey
speaker, so
guys.
let them know who you are.
Jürgen from Arteq. I'm going to talk later on about NFTs and continue this beautiful topic that we started with Stephan and Markus today. What I just wanted to add, Anita, on your thoughts now is that I believe that the way how we consume art now is in change. You mentioned the patina. You talked about flower paintings. And obviously it's something completely different. We don't feel it anymore. However, we as Arteq, we are working with a lot of digital artists, obviously. And what we see is that the technology is now on a stage where we can see holograms. So we can reconnect to art, to digital art, completely new. And everything that you have seen in Star Wars now somehow is in our everyday life. And this is something completely amazing. So now imagine holograms that shows off 30 centimeters and there's a ballerina dancing. And obviously it's somehow related to sculptures, but just in a digital way, in a new way. And I believe this is something that is completely changing as people now consume art in a different way.
True.
Anyway, thank you very much for the question. And
Second question.
Excuse me, I have one important question. I believe to me it's important, at least not so interesting question than these two. One comment on Anita's question was, but this is to Markus, because we know how difficult cryptos are for regulators and central banks and everybody. But you mentioned that you have fiat pay-in, pay-out system of yours. Interesting about the process itself, not in details, but high level. First of all, the transactions always happen on blockchain, which means that there is a validation, which is a gas-free and transaction-free. Is your platform taking care of that? And what is the NFT platform that you're using for your transactions?
The best answer to that, because he's our technical partner. Yes, Arteq created this platform, the Kiss.art, for us, and yes, we are accepting fiat. We have a German payment provider called Unser that helps us collecting the fiat money through the transfers with the credit card, and PayPal as well, and in Austria, bank transfer. So that's available. And for the 1,850 euro, that's already including the gas fees. So we are taking care of the gas fees. And there's a special procedure involved, because we have once a week the revelation of the individual piece. So you can buy any time, but Friday night is the reveal night where you can get your NFT displayed in your wallet. So every Friday there's the minting taking place, and maybe you can do one.
And maybe from a technical point of view, the fiat transaction have been a pain in the ass. It was really tricky, as we had to mint manually. First of all, we need to check whether the 1,850 euros really have been transferred to the bank account, as it was obviously not on chain. So we had to review every single transaction, and then we got the confirmation from the bank that the 1,850 euros have been transferred, and then we did manual the minting process. On chain, obviously, everything was designed by smart contract, but off chain it was a lot of work.
thank you for the questions. Really appreciate it. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure speaking with you, getting some insights, and thank you, Leo. With this, we will have a short break, and then we'll come back with the next batch of speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sorry, you can enjoy the art in the hall, okay? It's right now.
what I like. Amazing job. Really. Yeah, really.
think I'm good.
Welcome back for the second part of that roundtable. So please, the roundtable about artists' unique selling proposal in the metaverse. Please welcome Richard Zalan, CEO and co-founder at Vernissage, and Jürgen Poelzl at manager at Arteq. Did I say it well? Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. We had a great session, and now we're going to do a better session. Let's start off by introducing yourselves. I think let the audience know what you guys do and some background about your projects. So, please.
Hello, guys. My name is Jürgen. I'm founding member of Arteq. My background is in legal and art management. I started my career in an auction house, then moved into an international law firm where I practiced IP and IT law, and so to say, my second life started around 2 years ago when I started Arteq. Arteq tries to build an infrastructure around digital artworks. We have a lot of projects. I believe the 4 most important departments from Arteq is our gallery in Vienna. It's, at least in Austria, the first gallery dedicated its work only to digital artworks. Therefore, we're working together with a lot of artists. But we're also partnering with galleries, I wouldn't say around the world. We have now 2 collaborations, one in Miami, a second one in Palma de Mallorca, where we basically try to reshape how we exhibit digital artworks, as we have our exhibitions at the same time on all the galleries all our partner galleries, which is quite fun to have an exhibition in Miami and at the same time in Vienna. The second department that we are very hard working on is our auction house. It's going live by next year, probably February, end of February, March. It's going to be an auction house very similar to the traditional auction houses that we know, comparable to Sotheby's Christie's. So what we want to trigger is somehow to give humanity back to an art auction, where you can see your avatar and a lot of features. Maybe later on we can talk about that. The unique thing about the auction house is probably also that we have the government license for security token. Maybe we can also go in detail on that later on, as this is something unique, and so we can combine real analog masterpieces into the digital art field, as we sell as security tokens part of the ownership of Van Goghs and Rembrandts. The third thing we are working on is our portfolio. So it's very similar to a traditional ETF, I would say. We build up a digital art portfolio where we invite people to invest in by buying an Arteq token, which is listed on several exchanges. And the fourth thing is our advisory service, where we try to help traditional art institutions, such as the Belvedere, galleries, and artists, to bridge the gap between the traditional art world and the new Web3 space.
Thank you. Please.
My name is, can you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah.
My name is Richard Zalan. You're probably wondering what's my accent, because many people are wondering what is it. I was born in Poland, lived in Australia. Over here, people are basically confused. We are building a Web3 community for digital creators. And what I mean by that, actually a real community. Why Web3? Because we are planning to build it on the platform, not sending members or artists to Twitter or Discord or any other third parties, but keep it on our platform. We are very early stage. At the moment, we're raising funds. As well, we are part of an incubator from Italy. our kind of connection with art has been, our meaning my wife and me, that's the two of us, it's been going back quite a few years. I'll have a presentation later on, I will probably show you where it come from. But we see, you mentioned, Jürgen, in your introduction, humanity. And I haven't heard it many times actually here. And that is extremely important because that's what we actually focusing to help humanity, not just by buying and selling NFTs, but we focus on emerging artists that are fine artists. I mean, create fine art.
Let me, before we continue, remember our crowd. These 5 men are also presenting their masterclass in the afternoon. They prepared some very interesting presentations. So unlike what we had on Monday and Tuesday, today's masterclasses are something really, really different. So of course, I urge you to stay and to listen to what they presented.
And there will be some prizes at the end.
Oh my gosh. Let me ask you something, Richard. I've been doing a bit of research on you. And you say that you've transitioned, let me read this correctly. You've transitioned from structural design to being CEO of a digital art gallery. What motivated you to do this?
This is an extremely quick jump. There were many things in between. I don't want to give you my life story, but as a structural designer, having very, very extensive experience, I was unemployable here. Due to being Australian and experience. I don't need to probably explain to many people why, but I was unemployable. So I had to reinvent myself, and we found blockchain in late 2016, and we used to run events here, where I met Pekka and Anita here, yes. It's called Planet Blockchain. So that was our introduction to this space of blockchain and crypto. Then it was ICO's era that very funny, I can see kind of return at the moment. Maybe it's falling off slightly, hopefully. And I guess, why art? Because we've always loved art. We couldn't connect why. We couldn't connect dots. And we saw potential of, that's what we heard first. NFT provides a certificate of ownership. And that was to us, well, wow, this is something. We've seen so many photographers having their websites. And they're struggling with selling. There's so many, right clicks, people say, copying and this and that. And that would actually potentially might change it. And so we started kind of dwelling in this topic, and led us to Vernissage. Yeah.
And I also believe that Richard completely get on the most important point on NFTs. For me, the term NFT is somehow nowadays used a little bit
loosely.
Yeah, because in the end of the day, what is an NFT? An NFT is just a medium where digital art is saved on. Back in the days when you have saved digital art on USBs or on a CD-ROM, you didn't call it USB art or CD-ROM art. So I believe that nowadays we are very early. That's the reason why the term NFT is also used wrongly, I would say, because it is digital art. And maybe if you talk about digital art, then there is something underneath which you can call crypto art, maybe. But there's not such a thing as NFT art, at least in my opinion. But in the end of the day, what Richard said is completely true, as the medium NFT, where you can save your digital assets on, is a true game changer. When we talk about digital art, it is nothing new. We know digital art since 30, 40 years. However, what I've experienced, that artists couldn't monetize their digital art pieces through the traditional channels. And I've been working as a lawyer quite a long time, and I was working with galleries, artists, and museums, and when we transferred ownership from digital artwork, it was a hustle. It was just paperwork, and then basically stored on a USB, and then we moved ownership from Richard to Jürgen with a paper and the USB stick. And this is the huge game changer that blockchain offers offers artists in our industry, as now we can reach a global audience, as we can sell digital art pieces on NFTs worldwide within seconds, and we can save them first of all and record the transfer of ownership. And this is the huge game changer about NFT. And that's also the reason why nowadays a lot of artists are coming into this field, as now they can make money out of it. 20 years ago, they couldn't, maybe they loved digital art, also back then. Nevertheless, they couldn't make money out of it. And now this is really a motivation how we get more people into the digital art field.
From what I understand, you provide an infrastructure, right? How do you do that?
I mean, with infrastructure, I mean the different projects that we are working on. For me, it was also important, or always important, to have some analog, or let's say a real world gallery where we can show digital art. Because I believe we are not there yet where we consume digital art only in the metaverse. It is, we go there step by step. Nevertheless, I believe there needs to be galleries where you can see the screens, where you can see the hologram art pieces, where you can see beamers, all the different medium how we can display digital art. And I believe that there should be galleries out there where you combine the real world with the digital world. And infrastructure in a way that we are also doing other projects. Our auction house will be in the metaverse. In the end of the day, we want to offer our artists an infrastructure, whether they want to show their pieces in our gallery or in the end of the day in our auction house.
Tell me the artist's experience if he approaches you and says, listen, I need help and support by having infrastructure and getting into the digital world or the metaverse. How would you approach the artists in this way? Like, how would you support them?
Well, first of all, I go do a deep dive into their works, because not every artist fits to us, and we don't fit to every artist. Then we discuss a lot, we talk, and then we try to find some projects. In the end of the day, we are not the first player out there offering an online gallery. So in this sense, there are a lot of places or marketplaces where you can sell already your digital artwork. Therefore, Arteq is not really needed. However, what we're also trying to do is build up, as Richard also mentioned, a very important thing in our community or in our space is the community. And building up a community from digital art lovers, this is the hard thing. It is a misconception from artists that if they create a digital artwork, they will just sell it to their traditional collectors. There are specific collectors nowadays, very focused on digital art, and it's really hard to reach them. With the Belvedere, Markus mentioned it briefly, we really had the challenge between the traditional collectors that we onboarded, this one customer circle, and the other customer circle have been the Web3 natives. And we thought the Web3 natives, they will love our project. Now a traditional master painting is in the metaverse, is in the Web3 space, but in the end of the day, they didn't care about it, but it was hard to reach them. So we onboarded more traditional collectors, the new collectors, I would say. And back to your questions, what we offer as Arteq is to place our artists the best way as possible, to also help them to sell their story, and to build a community where we believe that they might also buy digital art pieces.
Can I actually comment on it? Community. It's a very misunderstood concept. Many kind of third-party platforms, let's call it Discord, they believe that dropping your NFT and community there, or people there, holding that NFT, they're just nothing else but NFT holders. Community is something completely very different, and building a community is a very, very slow process, and you cannot push it, you cannot buy your users, otherwise it wouldn't make sense. And I think that is the hardest, that many actually don't understand. I heard it before here, people use the word community, but they were referring to Discord. Okay, these are people who there, they might ask questions, but there's no collaboration, no support, no. Frankly, I hate Discord. I mean, it's made by gamers for gamers. Maybe, I don't know, maybe my age or something else, whatever, but I believe building a community is extremely important. The easiest way to define what is community is to see which side the chairs are facing. If they're all chairs facing one way, it's not a community, it's an audience. If all chairs facing all each other, that is the community, and I think that is the very hard part.
And what would be the role of this community be?
The role, the way we see it is, well, I'm going to talk about, mention about Vernissage, what our view is. Community will actually, okay, creating certain collaboration, giving exposure, connecting this community with global other artists or buyers. I tend not to use collectors because collectors somehow I feel more NFT. I'm collecting NFTs, okay? If someone buys an art, it's not a collector, it's a admirer, and I don't know, he wants to have just one piece, okay? So buyers of this art can actually be globally connected. They can collaborate globally. And we also believe, I mentioned it a few times with our conversations with some people, telling a story. I think Stephan mentioned earlier. The story is just probably one of the most important things. What I see at the moment, these artists, whether they are emerging or mostly emerging, they go on Instagram, post the pictures, and they're waiting, now what?
Now
where's the money? Where's the money?
Yes,
Yes, where's the money? And they're not able to actually tell the story. And that's what connect potential buyer, viewer, is the story behind. And somehow people don't think about it. So we will encourage our artists to create a story, as well as we will encourage them to try to build their own brand. Because every artist, they are their own brands. They're not part of big kind of company. They are their own brands. And they don't know that. Later on, I will have actually an example of such an artist, which is Peter, our great friend. And I think, as I mentioned, community that support each other, building a brand, creating a story, I think this is the main pillars, the way we see it. However, we will hear it from artists who join us. Maybe we see it wrong, so maybe there's something else there.
I totally agree, Richard. This is the same approach that Arteq also follows. Nowadays, people, you mentioned it, they believe that if they do an Instagram story on their latest digital art pieces, and then later on the drop, boom, it will sell. But it is completely different. You really need...
How on earth I'm going to find this artist on Instagram? Flipping through hours, oh, maybe that one. It's impossible. Anyway.
From what I also only, it's just, I mean, if you think about an artist's career, it should always be a long-term relationship between an institution as Richard's or mine that helps you within the next 10, 15 years in order to really tell the story about the artist's developments and path that he or she takes. And this is storytelling that you need to do, and nowadays, especially in our space, I also see that this is not, it's
but
not
you
really...
But you could make
really
the argument on the other side. I'm going to put music, for example. Musicians used to need labels. Then Spotify came up. Now you can have a good song, upload it on Spotify, and you can become a famous musician without the need of a label. What you were mentioning about the artists posting their art on Instagram, they might be thinking of a similar way of doing business in the art world. Just post my art, viralize it somehow, and the community will come to me.
But honestly, sorry, Richard, but Richard just mentioned the right thing. He said what Vernissage is doing to help artists building up their own brand. So I don't know I don't know your opinion on that, but I don't see myself as a label. I'm working together with artists in order to help their brands to increase. But nevertheless, for me, the artist is more important than in the end of the day, the Arteq brand.
Now, Richard, you mentioned Instagram. Do you believe that there's a lack of truly decentralized platform for artists to put their work, on? Because Instagram in the end is centralized, right? And these artists are putting a decentralized work on a centralized platform. So do you find that there's a lack of decentralized platforms?
Platforms for community are not many. Platforms for marketplaces of NFTs are millions. No, maybe I'm exaggerating, but it's most of them. Centralized platforms. What if, for example, you're on Twitter, I mentioned Instagram, I just want to mention Twitter. What if Elon Musk has to pull the plug? What happens to your community? What happens if Facebook, I don't know, just collapses and you've lost basically everything? I think that's what I believe in decentralization. You cannot shut it down. It cannot be just basically shut down. That's the whole thing. Probably that's the biggest. The biggest advantage of that. And Instagram is actually full of rubbish. I'm sorry. Yeah. They I like to call it interior design art. Okay? You buy this because it matches your kitchen decor. So it's not art. It's just a doodle, and everyone thinks that they created something on iPad or something. Oh, digital art, make an NFT, sell it. I think this is a wrong approach, and I think there are masses of people who do that. But going back to the question, yes, centralized organization places are probably not the future, and I think Facebook is already collapsing. People leaving Facebook, and I think that would be probably the next step. I guess I don't know.
About these new technologies, digital art, NFTs, we were talking about this outside during the coffee break. How do you expect this to affect the adoption of art in the future?
Sorry, can you please repeat?
How do you see these new technologies, this new kind of art, this digital art, affecting the adoption of art by the audience, from the audience?
I think we are living through times where we cannot say that yet. We are still discovering, and like we're talking adoption of blockchain, where you see banks starting to use some blockchain technology, and everyone's raving, wow, adoption's coming. No. I think that's, I would say it's hard to say for me how it's got influence, but I think adoption is going to take time. It's a very, very long, we are so early with this NFT stuff, let's call it, and there are not so many people using it. They don't even know what blockchain is. So I think we have way ahead of us before we actually make any potential statement.
I agree on Richard, although I want to try to give at least my opinion on that. I mean, if you look back in the history of art, the evolution of art, everything started with cave paintings. Later on, you have seen stone sculptures. Old masters painted their beautiful pieces on wood. Within the 19th century, we have seen canvas coming into our apartments, houses, and I believe that the next generation of kids, people will consume art mainly digitally. So they mainly will consume digital art. Whether it is on a screen, I don't know. Whether it's on a hologram, whether it's on a beamer, there are a lot of different ways how you can display digital art. And I believe it is just a nature of humans to develop their views on art. I mean, you can now, if you think about having an old master, a wood painting back home, I mean, this doesn't, would, at least for my apartment, it wouldn't even fit there. Canvas, yes, maybe. Screens, much better. I'm not saying that everywhere in my apartment I have screens everywhere. Nevertheless, I believe that within the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see at least modern apartments having screens dedicated to digital art only. And I'm not talking about screens where you can watch TV. I'm talking about screens with beautiful wood frames or frames that are moving. We are now also in contact with all the big players, Samsung, LG, Sony. There are also a lot of screen startups. And I know that within the next couple of years, we're going to see amazing products out there that really enable also digital art to break through to, for the first time, I believe, in art history, to enable people to include their digital artworks in their everyday life. And I think we're not that far away to seeing that.
However, I suspect that if there's a big adoption of digital art will kind of come in, I think the traditional art will gain in value a lot.
True.
Somehow I suspect that. And it's not going to be only digital. There's no way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
There will be two parallel streams, let's call it. And I think traditional artists will actually be much more highly appreciated. That's what I think.
Totally agree. Just let me add something on that. I don't believe that, as Richard also mentioned, digital art will not replace analog art pieces. But it will be an additional offer for collectors or for, how did you call them, enablers or appreciators, to see, admirers, to see different art. I mean, it is completely something different if you go there and brush something on a canvas or to create, as Stephan's works, to create something truly digital. And I believe that within the next couple of years, we're going to see and next to each other on those two different art forms.
Richard, you mentioned value.
Value.
Okay. I want to understand the economic framework. How do you define actually a value of an NFT or a digital art? Let me explain. You see some artists coming up and say, I'm going to charge 0.1 Ethereum. You see the next artist saying, I'm going to charge 0.5 Ethereum. So I want to understand what justifies this financial framework and how do you actually streamline this in a better way?
I think you're talking about Me Too kind of approach. If they can sell it for 2 Ether, it means I can sell it for 2 Ether too. But I think you cannot dictate the price to the market. Market will dictate it. So if you try your new shoes in
you could
digital
set a starting price.
Sorry?
You could set a starting price.
You can set a start.
But
Yes, of course.
Nothing says that the market will.
And this is the process.
Reply to that market
yes,
price. Correct.
You're starting a job. You're starting as an apprentice, let's say. Okay, you're building up your experience, and you say, now I can charge more. That's the same, probably equivalent. So artists cannot just suddenly, because his art is 2, and I need to do the same. No, if someone appreciates it, it will pay. But if your price was too low, don't cry. That means you're on the right track. Just create more and see the response. You cannot tell market what to do. Market will tell you.
About the market, you were just mentioning a potential future divide between digital art, physical art. On the previous panel, we were discussing the Belvedere tokenization of the KISS, and something that got my attention was that, if I understood correctly, most of the buyers of those NFTs ended up being traditional art collectors. So while we're doing, in this particular case, tokenization, right? When we're doing that kind of enterprise, are we expanding the market, or are we simply offering a new product to the same market?
I think we're doing both. We're expanding and, yeah, I think both. And experimenting with what goes and what sells, what your audience or admirers, I like to say that, what they like. However, if artists are going to paint or create something for the market, he's not an artist. It's like working in a job. You have your inspiration, but you've got to do what your boss is telling you. I think this is wrong. He's not an artist, or she, he. You do your art what you believe. You do your art because you know you're going to change, influence humanity. You will help people. You know, art heals, actually. People don't talk about it, but art really heals.
Well, let me allow the economist to speak. But if art sells, and people are buying it, are demanding it, then it also serves a purpose. So why couldn't he, she, whoever do that?
Well,
who are we to judge what the artist wants to do? And if the artist wants to offer the audience what the audience wants to buy, so what's wrong with that?
Okay, why Van Gogh was painting what he was painting and no one appreciated it until he died, okay? Why Monet, as another impressionist, he was banned from galleries because this is something no one saw before. So I think by experimenting, this is nothing else. You start walking before you start running. It's very simple process. You cannot engage technology in helping you in the process. You have to do it as a human, as an artist. Well, that's how I see it.
Would you say that...
Have I answered this question? No?
You've given your view. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Currently, in the scenario, a lot of times, the price of an asset, digital asset, is very closely linked to the sentiment of the users. For example, when the NFT price is going up, the users are very happy. They love that NFT. But the moment it falls, that's where the community comes in. Oh, this is not a very nice NFT.
But it was not art.
Exactly. I just wanted to say I'm going the same path. What we have seen also within the hype last year, that we have seen a lot of speculation on the market. And I believe that those collectors for the project that we have seen last year are not really into art that much, but rather on the speculation of NFTs, on tokens. They take it truly as a speculation tool, or some of them. I cannot talk about everyone, but some of them. And this is, as I understand Richard works, is if you bring digital art into this field, it is not so much about speculation anymore. It is truly about collecting digital art. Yes, you can sell it. Yes, you can buy more. However, I believe that within the next couple of years, we will not see so many flips anymore. And for instance, with the Belvedere project that we have co-developed, we see that as you mentioned, we have seen a completely new collector field as we onboarded a lot of traditional collectors, and they are not selling that much as those traditional NFT collectors that we have seen last year. So it is new people in the field now.
And how does that affect the community? In any community, you have people who are buying the art piece regardless of their value, right, for the art. But then you have a certain members in the community that are just there for the profit, right, for the hype. And then when these community members are not happy with the pricing, they start giving negative sentiments about the project itself, which, let's just say, kind of dilutes the value of the community. How do you protect that, and how do you control that?
I don't think you can protect human emotions. If you go to IKEA, you buy something because you like, or you need, or you don't. You don't complain about the price. If someone is, as a community member, is disappointed at high prices, obviously, it might be an indication to the artist that the prices are a little bit too high, or probably he's not really appreciating the art. It could be probably two, or either of them. And I think a human connection with the art cannot be marketed, cannot be put a value on it. If you love it, you just buy it. If you don't, you don't. And but those ones who are gonna in the community start to complain and making kind of noise, or why? Well, obviously they're not in the right place.
Let me ask you something from someone that does not come from the world of art. I love it that we're talking about prices. I come from the world of prices. So does the price of proper art fluctuate so much as the price of NFTs? Like NFTs in terms of art?
What is proper art for you? Digital art or the physical art?
So physical art, like old school art.
Okay.
A Picasso. My idea is that a work of art has somewhat a kind of stable pricing throughout time. Then we are arriving to this moment when we have, I keep putting the Bored Apes example. The price was super high, then it went down, it collapsed. So the point I'm trying to make is that if you have a particular product whose price follows some sort of trend, you have another product that we think it's the same, but its price is so much volatile than the other one. So could we consider those two things the same?
Yeah, just one thought on that. You have to make the right comparison. If you are trading as a gallery, if you're trading physical art pieces from contemporary artists, from emerging artists, the prices are also going this way.
Okay.
And in the digital field, it's the same. The only difference is that with digital art pieces as sold as NFTs, you reach a bigger audience. Therefore, the motivation or you have more players in it trading the art piece. That you don't have when you are dealing as a gallery with contemporary artists. And also, a second comparison, you cannot compare digital art pieces to old masterpieces because they already have the history, the story, the reputation, the brand name, and that's the reason why it's stable. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this comparison in 30, 40 years, when we have seen traditional digital artists that already made their name and established their position. And for sure, in 30, 40 years, we're going to have seen old masters in the digital art world where you have a very stable price.
Tell me about security issues, right? Now, we have seen a lot of hacks, or you click a link, or your wallet is compromised. Tell me about this. What are your perspectives on this? Nobody can steal a physical art from you unless they break into your house or break into the museum. But now when you have digital assets, the risk involved here is quite high as well. So give me your thoughts on that and how to reduce the risk.
I'm not a tech guy, although I'm very into tech. Okay. Nevertheless, your comparison already somehow told it. You can break into houses, you can crack wallets. I guess that's more or less the same. When it comes to the security of tokens by itself, there are also maybe we can change the system by integrating security token, where you basically have a KYC before that and that you save it. But we have, it's another discussion. It goes somewhere different.
I think the blockchain was not hacked. These are mainly galleries, the marketplaces, and perhaps wallets, especially smart contracts. I'd like to make this comment. I like to say that smart contract is a bit of an oxymoron. It's neither smart or neither contract. But they are being hacked. And once they're hacked, you can manipulate where does it go. And I think that's the weak point. Well, that's probably about what I would say to that, yeah.
I asked a technical question. They took away my technical. Okay, there, I'm back. So in short, opportunity is high, right? Exposure is high. The risk is also high. Yes or no?
I would say it's the same as if you would have a physical painting in your house. The advantage from digital art is that you cannot burn it. So even this is an advantage. If you compare, you can burn your house. You can, whether it's your physical art piece gets stolen or somehow destroyed or burnt. And yes, the first thing can also happen with digital art pieces. The second thing, no. So it's even less risk than a
But you can
physical art
insure
piece.
your house. Can you insure your art?
Yes, you can. There are companies out there that insure your NFTs in your wallet.
That's amazing.
Something new I didn't hear about. Okay.
There you go.
I think the only thing I would probably add to it is we are still evolving in this technology, and let's just hope that developers here, whatever there, they actually find a solution. For example, there is no solution for when you buy an NFT and you want to resell it. I'm talking purely token. And you want to resell it. There is no guarantee that royalties will go back to the artist. There's no guarantee. There are ways around it, and people obviously take advantage of that because they are, they don't want to pay that. But there are ways, and there are very legitimate ways. It's just technology didn't caught up with that yet.
You mentioned royalties. You can also call them the creator's fee, right?
Yes.
Now, as we see from traditional experience, most creators, they put 5%. Some creators put 10%. What defines this value of percentage?
First of all, we need to clear, not creator, but the one, someone who minted is actually pass it on, because that's the real way. You know? If I mint it, I'm so-called creator, and if it's been resold, I'm getting the money, not the creator I got it from. But I'm not quite sure. Actually.
In a smart contract, when you're creating an NFT, I have a bit of tech. So
okay, yeah.
You enter the creator's fee, and you enter the blockchain address that it comes back to, right? And in this case, you put 5%. So every time the NFT is sold or resold, ideally, the initial creator gets that percentage.
Providing you do it or the NFT being resold on the same place. If it is not on the same marketplace, the smart contract not being triggered.
Amazing. So now there's another gap, right? The moment it's moved from one marketplace to the other marketplace, the creator is now...
Exactly. This is one of the ways to go about it.
So there's
another way is you actually put your NFT on the ledger and you send it to someone else, to another ledger. It's not triggering anything.
So it does not protect the creator?
No, there's not. No.
Is there a way to protect him through those smart contracts?
Well, I think technology is still not there. For example, I've always had issue when we were thinking about a vernissage and minting and all that. What protects, apart from own artist's credibility, if artist offers for sale his art, or NFT, let's call it, we're talking just simply, NFT on one platform or one marketplace, and then does the same on the other marketplace. There is no way to see it. Technology is not being able to see it. Even on either the same Ethereum or Polkadot, there is no mechanism to actually spot, hi, this is something wrong. However, there's only credibility of the artist. If that's being spotted, obviously, it's losing it. So at the moment, we rely on that.
I'm sure you're going to catch him up on the Polkadot question, so go ahead.
Your gallery is part of the Polkadot ecosystem.
Correct.
Tell us why, please.
Why?
Why did you choose Polkadot?
We made this decision quite earlier. However, we haven't signed a contract yet. We're still looking into potentials. But the main reason was when I was having a first conversation with the founder of this company, the name is Unique Network. We immediately, within 5 minutes, agreed that we want to hide all the tech. Because all is currently, most of the galleries or marketplaces are made mainly for crypto-savvy people. We wanted to hide it as much as possible. I know there are ways of actually, you cannot avoid to have your own seed words and all, but they're actually working on it. It's not going to be like a wallet. What's the name? That everyone uses the same wallet.
Metaverse?
No. The word is evaporated. Everyone will have individual wallet. but the tech will be hidden. So that was the first thing. When we were discussing it, polka dot minting is basically 0.0 cent. Some figure has to be.
Are you talking about layer 1, layer 2? The
well,
gas fees?
We're using Polkadot ecosystem, but actually not directly on Polkadot. However, the company actually has its own parachain, which is attached to
okay, so ZK rollup technology.
Relay chain, yes.
Okay.
And I believe that there will be different blockchains for different industries, for different verticals. It seems like from the beginning, Ethereum was, everyone wants Ethereum. So everything is being built there. Somehow I suspect it will divert, it will spread over. And Polkadot also has a module that we're going to use. I like to call it module, I'm not sure it was the proper name. This decentralized kind of social platform is fully decentralized, and they have this module to basically use it. So there were three kind of ideas, three reasons to go for Polkadot. But however, as I mentioned, we're not signed a contract yet, and we are still exploring potentials. I know I heard from someone who mentioned that where the buzz is, where the traffic is, that's where the best place to go. But we don't need buzz on or traffic on Ethereum. This is other traffic that does not relate to us. So we somehow, and I think security of Polkadot is quite strong. Don't ask me details why. That's what I read and see. I'm not a tech guy, so these are the reasons actually, yeah.
You mentioned a layer 2, or that's what I think that you mentioned, when a gas fees, for example, on a layer 1 is quite high. The layer 2 is complementing that layer and takes off some of the gas fees off the layer 1. Now, in some traditional scenarios where we have seen, sometimes I want to buy an NFT, and apart from the fact that I'm paying for the price of the NFT, I'm paying a ridiculous price for the gas fees as well. And it fluctuates. So in this case, what are your thoughts on that? Because the more, let's just say, the more in pressure the network is, the higher the gas fees. So what are your thoughts on that?
But actually, on Polkadot, again, on this ecosystem, it's close to zero. It's whether you pay $0.01 or $0.02, I don't think anyone's going to complain about it. It fluctuates. But basically, it's close to zero. That's one of the big reasons here.
We're almost out of time, so I want to ask you one last question, and then we're going to...
And I have so many technical questions.
Geographically speaking, do you see any particular part of the world where digital art is being received more than in the rest?
Can I? Yeah. I see potential, enormous potential, in African art, which is, I'm not sure whether it's digital or not, but African art is kind of almost forgotten. No one goes there, no one looks at that, but these people, these artists, they actually want to be there. They want to be part of the whole thing. So I would definitely say African art. I also see, I'm not sure how to properly say that. I don't want to say Mexican art, because there's no such a thing as Mexican art. It's actually, Mexico has many different regions. So the art there, or the regions there, are called different. I cannot say that, sorry. But generally, Mexican art is extremely, extremely interesting. Unfortunately, I haven't been to Mexico, so I cannot, but I know that. We also aiming at the maybe long shot, being from Australia. We know Australian Aboriginal art is very highly kind of respected, and people pay a lot of money through galleries, like physical galleries. However, the way it happens is there are many middlemen between the artists sitting in the village, opening bark and doing these dots. I'm not sure if you saw Aboriginal art, like a dots, like a special. It's a certain way. Doing these dots and creating art and being paid, $20 and a bottle of whiskey. Yeah. And then the middleman and another one to another one, and gallery sells it for $50,000. And I think to do that would be a massive potential. I'm not sure how it will work for us, whether we reach that or not. But it's a pity to see that these Aboriginal artists are so basically exploited enormously. And that's, yeah.
So before we move on to the audience asking us questions, tell me what's next for each of you? What's the next step in the near future?
Well, for us, the next step is our auction house, and especially the deployment of our security token. What does that mean? In short, we have the licenses from the Austrian Finance Regulator Authority to tokenize physical artworks tokenize physical artworks and sell it as security token. What does that mean? Use case, you have a Van Gogh. A traditional collector cannot afford a Van Gogh. So our plan is to tokenize the Van Gogh. He comes into the bank, the true Van Gogh, and we structure the ownership of the Van Gogh as a security token, 5 to 200, whatever. And then we sell it through our platform, also offering KYC and with all the... Exactly, yeah.
What's next for you?
Build a community. And I said that it's a very slow process. I'm not saying hard. Well, it is in a way because it's slow, hard. But we're actually contacting artists individually, one by one. We want to create a community of 10 to start with, who will collaborate, who will start doing things. We're already talking to quite a few. So that would be the first thing, and we're doing it out of our own funds. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking for funding. So the next would be logical, I want money. So we're working hard to actually get invested because it's a quite expensive exercise. However, we can do many things temporarily without, for example, we can build a community, which is not going to be centralized, but we can build community on the website using Telegram API. I know many of you guys using WhatsApp. I don't. Using API of Telegram to create community, basically you will feel like you're in Telegram. So that's the first step we could do. And next, actually growing this community. And yeah.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We will now take questions from the audience. And yeah.
Anita, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Why have you moved?
I asked him to have responsibility.
Okay.
Just for now.
First of all, hear me?
Yes.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
You still hear me, right? So I would like to hear more about the insuring NFTs, because that's a bit news for me to start with, because that is again related to the price development and so on. The other is with this community part with the, in your opinion, is the secondary market a risk or an opportunity? Are we creating a IKEA system? Because today you can take your IKEA furniture back to IKEA, they will sell it back, or they will buy it back with the lower price, obviously. And the whole IKEA idea originally is that no one expects you to have the same sofa or furnitures like your whole lifetime, but you change them according to your wishes and desires and whatever. So in the NFT or crypto art space, I would rather say as well, are we creating some kind of circular economy that is pushing you to sell quicker, just keep hold for a while and sell further kind of a thing? Or how do you see it?
So to the first question regarding the security token, I believe that you truly need to understand how it works now. If you have a token, you cannot connect the token so far with real assets, such as real estates, or you can, but you need a security token therefore. Why? Because you need the regulation framework, you need the KYC process. And what we see in the digital art market, We don't have that right now in this stadium. So you can save your digital, your coding in your NFT and trade it. Yes, that's totally fine. However, so far we cannot connect it to some physical underlying assets. And this is something where we see a major market. So we will still go with the traditional NFT way. However, additionally, we're going to offer our collectors security token where they can buy in underlying assets, whether this is a Van Gogh, a Rembrandt, whatever, also contemporary art pieces. And with this system, we are connecting the tokenization process that is now available through blockchain with underlying true assets. This is the first thing, and therefore you obviously need government licenses. Mika will change it quite heavily. Nevertheless, since 1 year we are working very closely together with European governments and especially with the finance authority government structures. And we have the licenses now for doing that. Was that okay for the first part of the question? Second part of the question was regarding the secondary market, whether this is a good thing for the digital art market or not. In the end of the day, my opinion on that is you cannot stop it. You have it in the real, you have it for real, for analog pieces as well as for digital art pieces. I believe that in the end of the day, to fight against such a movement, it is just not worth fighting against it. And you should somehow use the advantages on secondary markets in order to even increase the prices or to make the artist even more famous by trading him or her on the secondary market. So this system is established and will never go away. Therefore, my approach is to use it in the advantage of the artists.
Thank you. Thank you for the response. Thank you for the question.
Any other questions?
We have a tag team here.
Another great professional panel. You were talking a lot about the community, and I also believe when we go closer to Web3, that's the whole ball game. Of course, you guys are still Web2, which is understandable because technology is not there yet. But how can you, and what are your mechanisms and strategies to support the artists to be successful in your community, and how can you create a continuously growing and committed community for your artists? Hot potato, yes, I know.
Is that to me? Yeah. How do we encourage artists to come back?
So how can you support your artist to actually be successful on your community, to sell its art, his or her art to the community, and how can you grow your community and to be more committed that they want to stay with your artists?
I think the simple question to that is, if there's a need, there's a movement. Okay, so if artists see potential, for example, our goal is to, as a first goal, is to organize a collaboration with these artists that we were talking with. They could be from anywhere. We're talking to Russian artists, we're talking to local artists. Put exhibition in art in space, as we in close relationship with Project 22. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. The lady exhibiting there every 22nd of the month at 22 artists. Yeah. So I think there is there's a need. There is a being shown, being seen in public, and I also believe that if an artist who was emerging and at some point has been noticed, they will always come back to this community because that's where the roots are, and it will inspire other artists. I think it has to be, I don't want to use the term carrot, but it's a very, very wrong word to say that, but it has to be something that they would like to join this community because of that. And we believe we have something. We believe by supporting with storytelling, we're supporting building your brand, And I think community, that is vibrant community, they all push each other. I'm part of the Telegram group called Conscious Creatives. I'm not sure if you heard about it. The guy from UK, they were organizing an exhibition in London. It was last year. And they called the exhibition, maybe some not agree with me or not, I'm always a bit of a rebel, that the cure is worse than the disease. It was last year. And there was over 300 people joined immediately. And they all presented the work. And the exhibition finished, and done, and completed. They are still there. So there must be something in the community that I actually want to come back.
Thank you very much for the answer.
We have time for
Can Jürgen give the same answers to the same questions?
Yeah. To be honest, I don't see the huge revolution when it comes to community, as we also did that in the traditional gallery work. It was always the same, reaching out to people, trying to collaborate with others, making the artist who is exhibited in your gallery in Vienna worldwide famous by exhibiting him or her in Miami or somewhere else. And that's the same thing with digital art, as we are doing that. The only thing that is now different is the advantages from Web3, as now when we sell an NFT token or a digital art piece, we are also offering that you can stake your NFT. That is, so I believe it's the same thing. The community building for a traditional gallery, House and Weird and Gregosian and name it, is very similar to what Arteq at least is doing with our galleries, online and offline. Nevertheless, we are adding the advantages of Web3. Staking, claim your free ticket for a museum, get special access to Metaverse parties, to our VIP parties, whatever. So this is just an additional offer. But from the concept by itself, community building, we are not, yeah, it's very similar, I would say.
All right, guys, we got time for one more question, and then we need to move to lunch. Who wants to take the last one?
I guess we're good.
Fast one here, if no one else. Jürgen, sorry guys again. Staking. You're pretty much like public organization, if I got it right. How do you regulate your staking? You're generating tokens which are not regulated. When they are on a blockchain, fine. When you remove the profit or the token itself from the blockchain, what happens? It's not regulated. How do you handle this?
So our staking mechanism works as you stake your NFT and you get Arteq token as staking rewards. And then when it comes to your question, whatever the person does with its Arteq token, whether it sells on Bitmart or somewhere else, is not in our hand.
Thank you very much. I think we will wrap this up. And please join us for lunch.
Exactly. Exactly. We're having lunch, and we can continue this conversation during the lunch and even this afternoon, of course, with the masterclass. So it's not finished.